Hey everybody, and welcome to a new video. In today's video, we'll be checking out what if we had Central Europe go to war. So let's begin, because I don't want to make this too long. So in this, we'll be seeing all these countries I include as Central Europe. So we have Italy, Switzerland, little Liechtenstein, Austria, Czechia, Slovakia, Poland, and Germany. So we'll be seeing what if these all countries went to war. So let's begin. So at the start, we're going to say Germany's going to be causing this, and an event on Poland, and war breaks out between the two. Slowly, eventually, after this, we see these are a bit confusing, because these both are pro-German and pro-Polish. But just for the sake of this, we'll be giving both probably Poland. Austria would probably join on the red team here. Switzerland. Now Switzerland's a neutral country. That's what's making me scared. So for this to make it kind of more interesting, we're gonna leave them out. Liechtenstein's just encircled by the red, so they might as well just join red. Italy's a bit confusing because they've used to be friends with Germany, but they're also friends with Poland. And so I'd say we'll see Italy joining in on the blue team. Now what I was thinking of doing was making it what I was thinking of doing was making Switzerland as kind of like a land route. So it's basically like both, it'll be divided in two and it can be like a fighting spot. And yeah. So if we draw in the navy, we can see there's Italy's navy, pretty strong. Or as some people like to call these, a maritime border. We're going to Germany's here. Pretty simple. And we have Poland's, and do that. And yeah, that's the only really coastal battles that are going to be happening. The rules are, if you watched my last what if the Balkans went to war video, so all along these countries here, you'll probably have noticed well, you probably have noticed now, but it didn't really matter to you. But we have a rule in this, and that rule is basically other countries are not going to be allowed to join besides what the area is. So that's why in the Balkans no one else intervened. So for this video, no one else will intervene or support another country. This will just be wars against each other. So let's begin. So the first thing we're probably going to be seeing happening, since Germany was the first one to make an act, we see German troops start going in to Poland. Although after a heavy resistance, Polish troops are able to line up here and gave the Germans a little struggle to advance on this front. So this, yeah, that's bad. Austria is going to go ahead and start marching towards Slovakia's capital, although eventually they're held out. And we see Czechia invading Austria from the north, and even a bit of Germany. Down south here we can see nothing really changing due to the Alps, and eventually this is what this war is going to look like. Germany prepares another bulge and goes into Czechia, routing troops up and spreading throughout the countryside, until eventually Czechia has to retreat troops out and has to hold out in actual Czechia territory. With this we see a German offensive. Also with this, because of that, we can probably see a Polish counter-offensive, and Poland has now started their invasion. Czech troops are even required to move out of Austria, and Austria starts their own little push into Czechia. Eventually Slovakia surprisingly manages to kick back for that, but the Czechs are basically in ruins at this rate. We can see Austrian troops flood in. We have a massive encirclement of Prague, and just more German troops spreading throughout this area. Eventually, when Prague is captured, though, we see the surrender of Czechia. And after actually no. While that was happening, we can look up here and we can see a navy battle happening with the Polish beating the Germans, pushing around and managing to capture this island and start their new invasion to Germany, which is eventually repelled. Forgot to do that now. And the Germans managed to counter-offense back at Poland, while Polish troops mixed with Slovakian troops managed to cross into Czechia and start reliberating it, trying to bring it back to life. Eventually we see the front in Switzerland change a bit, as we can see that it's most likely that the Italians will be winning these battles, because it's the only front they're really focusing on right now. They are trying to cross the Alps, just not too hard. They don't really want to. They just kind of, yeah, they do want to, but. And so we see the German offensive into Poland happening again. And at this rate, it looks like the war might be over soon. Although we see eventually, no, that won't happen. The Germans just start flooding in, trying to create a bulge, while also capturing more sea territories, beating the Polish navy now. With that, they start a naval invasion and connect up with the mainland invasion, and troops placed in Czechia start pushing north. Poland now has to supply 3 fronts, which they don't really want to fight. And eventually Austria starts their own offensive again, capturing the capital of Slovakia. We can see a near surrender of Slovakia. But Polish troops managed to flood in and just keep the country alive and long enough. Polish troops then come down south and reliberate the city, and then start pushing down south even more, And they say their whole plan now is just to take Vienna. And so they start pushing around the Vienna city, but then we have German troops interfering, and we have a stalemate. Not really going to be happening for a while. Although we do see a Slovakian breakthrough, and Slovakia officially starts, kicking out the Austrians here. They're encircled, so they take that and they just kick them out here. But despite that, they can't really do a lot. Italian troops start continuing their invasion into, German troops placed in Switzerland. And eventually nearly even managed to cross the whole thing. With that, we can see some Italian troops finally breaching through the Alps, and we're now free to roam around the rest of Austria, connecting themselves up with the Polish troops. Eventually, after the capture of Vienna, finally, after German troops put down their arms, we can probably see, and now basically we have a broken up Austria that's not really even independent anymore. It's just Germany at this rate. And we have barely anything in Liechtenstein. Although since Liechtenstein is God mode, they're able to take Bern. I'm just joking. I wish that would happen, but no, it's definitely not realistic. It was mainly German troops. But eventually they're countered. And we start running into some problems here. We have another stalemate. But Germany has to try and go ahead and break that stalemate. And manages another invasion. And after capturing some more lands and trying to, cut their way around stuff, we can see that Poland is near in sights of corrupting at this rate. After some navy battles and the Germans completely wrecking the Polish navy and starting a new naval invasion, we can probably see that the Germans are just going to start to overflood Poland a bit before being held. The Polish manage to make a desperate and effective pushback, but despite that, we can see a massive encirclement of a lot of Polish troops, just like that, wiped out. And with that, we can see a double bulge, well, not a double bulge, just two bulges making their way to Poland. Poland manages to kick back one. The two of them team up and start another bulge, and eventually an encirclement of a lot of Polish troops. Then together they're able to flood Warsaw, and we have the basic collapse of Poland. It's split in two, and we see as Poland just kind of starts, collapsing. And due to that, we see Poland surrendering, basically putting end to Czechia, and now Polish troops stationed in Slovakia start being invaded, along with Slovakia itself. Eventually the capital is taken and Slovakia puts their arms down. Eventually with this we can see a lot of lands being recaptured. And now the red team just have to deal with one country only. That is Italy, who has recently been able to kick the Reds' butts out of Switzerland and start their own little invasion, taking over Liechtenstein. And with this, they found a little route after suffering a lot of casualties. They were able to finally cross up into Germany and start to try and take Vienna again. They eventually do manage to, until eventually we see the Germans bomb up the hell out of Rome. Eventually we see some paratroopers landing in Italy, connecting each other up and encircling the city. With that, they start setting up their own spear into their navy and start creating their own little navies and stuff. Eventually Rome falls. After a long fight, we can see the Rome fall, and after that happens, we can see some counter-offensives being made against the Italians, as we see some German and Austro troops manage to kick back a bit, and then they're kicked out of Germany, although they decide not to go too far into Switzerland because they have other problems, but they start a little invasion and eventually manage to break through the Alps. So with this, the Italians give up, putting the end to the war and assuring the victory that goes to the Reds. Maybe this was probably a bit inaccurate. Probably. Yeah. But, so, in this peace treaty, we're going to see Germany going to be gaining this, and Poland being carved up a bit, I guess you could say. And with this, the Sudetenland out of Czechia is going to be divided between Austria and Germany, making these two countries quite a power, but not too much. We can probably see a Austria taking over the capital of Slovakia. And I don't think besides that, I don't think Slovakia would be ruined a lot. Neither would be Poland. And I'm probably gonna turn comments on for this video, so you guys can have an argue, like maybe just a discuss. Do you think in this peace treaty, should we Switzerland has to officially join their side? Should we see something like Italy will just have to give this to Austria? And don't worry, Liechtenstein, I can't forget about you. For your war efforts, I'll give you a chunk out of Switzerland. You are now at least not a micro nation, and are similar to the size of Luxembourg. Congratulations. Italy would probably be left alone, but they had to pay the most war reparations for doing a bunch of naughty things in Switzerland. While we have the Slovaks moving their capital, we can see eventually we'll see the official you can see the Reds winning. And with this, when we color out the countries that were actually on the red team, we can see now the red team's expansion. And yeah. So, I've hoped you enjoyed it. So as I was gonna say, is in the comments, some people could debate if they're like Austria and Germany would unite, and this in the peace treaty, this was kind of like no man's land, no troops allowed. So for that, I'll do like a 1 pixel kind of thing. It's not really anything, it's just kind of like no troops up here. Do you think these countries would unite after that to become the Holy Roman Empire, or do you think they would just keep as this? Say your opinion in the comments. But despite that, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and even if you didn't, what are you doing on my channel? Go watch another video. But yeah, so I'll see you in the next one. Peace.